Welcome, welcome, welcome. Beer Guys Radio, we are live.
We are.
It's Wednesday night in the studio, Brian.
It is.
Wednesdays are for drinking beer and running your mouths.
Exactly.
And today we're going to drink beer and run our mouths with Pete Anderson of Pareidolia Brewing Company on Florida's Treasure Coast. What a cool name, Pete.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a bit weird, but like we say, hard to say, easy to drink.
There you go. That's it. See? That's why you name your brewery like that, so you have a cool slogan to go along with it.
The
right?
problem is once you've had a few, you can't tell your friends what the name of the place is.
That's it.
You'll find it. It's on the Treasure Coast.
That's it. You should have a translation on your sign into drunkenese below that. Just para and then gibberish. They're like, that's the place he was telling me about.
Para gibberish.
You know,
at that point, everybody understands you anyway, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
You're all speaking the same language there. That's the way that's worked. And you know what? I see a comment from someone that I missed. I actually meant to reach out. Stephen Pete, Kettle Rock Brewing. Cheers, Stephen Pete. Stephen, I actually was going to reach out. I was worried about you this week.
Yeah.
Because Stephen is here hanging with us every single week, and he wasn't.
He wasn't here last week.
Pete, where were you last week, Stephen? Where were you?
Yeah.
So we see, there you go. It's okay. We forgive you. We forgive you. Kettle Rock Brewing. Good stuff, man.
I figured
Good
it was
stuff.
an emergency. I was going to check in, but then I got busy.
But congrats to him, man. He's got us conditioned well. He's
Oh
done,
yeah.
He's done a good job,
we
so,
said cheers from Kettle Rock for you.
We
last
did.
week.
We did. We
yes.
actually did do that. So busy at Kettle Rock. That's a good thing. That is a good thing. Awesome. Well, we're going to get rolling here. Pete, we're going to get this radio thing started right now.
All right. Sounds good.
Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yo, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Brian Hewitt.
And welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're broadcasting from the Beer Guys Radio Studios. And this week, we're talking with Pareidolia Brewing Company. And I had to work really hard to make sure that I said that correctly. But I am Tim Dennis, which I am able to say this week. And with me, as always, is my good friend and co-host, Brian Hewitt.
All right. Hey, Tim. So joining us today, we have Pete Anderson, the co-owner and head brewer for Pareidolia. I think I got that right. Very close to it anyway. Brewing company. We're going to talk about award-winning beers, their expansion plans, what's going on in that regard, and faces hidden in everyday things. And we might even touch on some Florida-grown hops. Pete, thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, sir. The Treasure Coast of Florida, correct?
Correct.
Have you personally found any treasure on the Treasure Coast?
I have not, but I actually have customers who have found things in the sand dunes over the years, and like pieces of 8. And
well, that's pretty cool.
There's people finding stuff every year along here. One guy a couple of years ago found like an emerald ring or something worth $50,000 or something crazy.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
I was going to ask if that's the reason why it was called Treasure Coast. Are there rumors of pirates burying treasure like along this coastline here?
Actually, it's not the pirates, it's the Spaniards.
They
were following the Gulf Stream around our area, and there happened to be quite a few shipwrecks offshore here. And Mel Fisher, who's a world famous treasure hunter, he's got a museum in town and another one down the Keys. He found a wreck of the Atocha, which was at that time the biggest single find in treasure in history. And they're still finding ships out off our coast that they didn't know were there.
That's pretty amazing.
That is incredible. I hadn't even thought about that. I was going to say, in a way, you could argue the Spanish were involved in piracy, just of a people in boats there robbing people on land. But
that's
I agree.
No one expected.
I agree with that,
though.
The Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah, no one expected.
Was that what that was that came over?
We'll call it. That's what we'll call it. Yeah, that'd be cool. I saw something one time, Pete, where someone was going for the shipwrecks, and they found it was a lot of gold coins, maybe pieces of 8, Spanish doubloons, somebody's doubloons, Brian.
Yes,
but there was like 200 of them fused together, like they had stayed in there. And it was just a massive find of these gold coins, and so. I'd even take one. I'd be happy with a single.
Seriously, a single one is worth a fortune, and it would be just incredible to see it and have your hands on it. It's like,
Yes.
oh my goodness, it's a piece of history. Also, a lot of value to it.
Speaking of things of high value in large amounts of gold coins, we went to a new cheese shop
Yes,
this weekend, Brian,
good transition
here
there.
in Atlanta, and the prices of some of those cheeses. You need to find a treasure chest to find it. But Pete, we were talking a little bit before we went on the air, and you said you're a cheese fan and married to a cheese head, right?
Absolutely. My wife, Lynn, who's co-owner of Pareidolia Brewing, born and raised in Madison, Wisconsin, a true cheesehead.
Proud of it. There's not many people you could say you're a cheesehead or say, yeah, I'm married to a cheesehead, and them take it as a compliment. But if you're a Packers fan, you'll be perfectly happy with saying that. But beer and cheese, Brian, they go well together.
I thought you were going to ask him how much he thought the price of cheese was that we bought this
Okay,
weekend.
let's do it.
Because that's an interesting thing. If you haven't been to a cheese shop recently, you might be surprised by some of this.
Pete, what would you guess the price per pound is right now of a premium? Let's say I'll give you one specific, a 10-year age cheddar. What do you think the price per pound of that is?
Wow, this is the Price is Right. You didn't tell me we're going there.
Right. We didn't tell you you'd have to think here.
We need some theme
it's
music to go with this.
Yes.
$8 a pound.
Ooh, that would have been great. I would
If
have
you're-
bought a lot more.
If you were underbidding with the prices right, and somebody went $100 a pound, you would
I'm
going
gonna
to
go $1, please.
Yeah, $1.
That one was 30 a pound.
Yes.
For that
Wow.
one. And I bought one that I don't know what the base cheese was, but they took a needle filled with truffle paste, injected truffles into the cheese, and then bathed the whole thing with pork fat. And that one was $50 a pound.
You know, you can't do too much to cheese, right?
That's what they're just getting. You know, I actually they got me, Pete. They got me because they're like, do you like truffles and pork fat? I'm like,
Of course.
Yes.
Of course I do.
And in all honesty, it was my least favorite of the cheeses that we got. But we've done it here before, Brian, and we need to do it again, a beer and cheese show, because there's a lot of good ones out there. Have you ever done anything like that at your brewery, Pete? You ever done any beer and cheese?
We haven't actually done a beer and cheese pairing, but you know, now that you mention it, it would be pretty cool. We've done donut pairings, cookie pairings, and other weird pairings, but no cheese. But like you said, that's almost like, why didn't we think of that already?
Yeah, it's fun. And then, you know, we had Bernard McCoy.
That's right.
From Brick Store Pub in Decatur, Georgia. He is their cheese expert, and he does the beer and cheese pairings for them. But he joined us for a show and really showed us true pairings of beer and cheese. If we go out, Brian, we're probably going to drink whatever beer we have and whatever cheese we have. But he put these thoughtful pairings together and had us do things like take a sip of the beer first and then taste the cheese, and then clear your palate and then try the cheese and then take a sip of the beer. And it's really interesting, Pete, the flavors are different of both the beer and the cheese, depending on the order you go in. It's amazing stuff.
It is incredible. I do the same thing with a Boilermaker, Tim.
Yeah,
Take a sip of the
beer.
whiskey and then take a sip of the beer, clear the palate, and then go in the reverse.
We are going to have to do a Boilermaker show for you sometime, right?
Probably, yes.
Do you like Boilermakers, Pete?
You know, I have to be honest, it's been a minute since I've had one,
Right.
but I remember every time I had one, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay. Brian's been all about it. He's done pretty much any kind he can. He'll throw a Boilermaker together.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what really grabbed me about it, but I don't know. Like it's kind of a retro thing, and I think it was originally just guys going to the bar looking to
Drinking.
They like the beer, but they wanted to add it up, you know, give it a little oomph. So they found the Irish whiskey or whatever that they like and give a shot with that. But some of the pairings are amazing. Like I'm addicted right now to a good rum and a hazy IPA, you know, or a dip.
Okay.
Those two together, especially in the right circumstances, are amazing. Amazing.
Brian's unnatural obsession is Boilermakers, and mine is micheladas.
That's right.
So those are our things.
We got our drinks, but you know what, Tim? We should get to the beers of the week before we run out of time.
Brian, that's a great idea, man. You know, we always have a great list of beers to get into. This week, we're going a little bit around the U.S., starting in Nashville from Bearded Iris. We have Mood Ring, Brian, that we're going to get into. We also have Wild Leap Brew Company Alpha Abstraction Volume 21, This is one they change up their hop profile and keep putting it out there with new hops in it. Some people don't like that they do that. They think, hey, it's the same beer, new hops in that. But a lot of people wait for each release of that to see what what's the hops in this one, Brian?
I am always waiting for it. Let me see if I can see what this is. It says varied. Oh, Idaho Gem hops, dry hops.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Idaho Gem, apparently.
Beautiful.
So
from Vermont's 14th star, we have a maple bourbon stout that we'll cap the night off with. That sounds like a dessert beer. Or, Brian, is the dessert more Weirbacher's Tiny from 2010, which is relevant. That's a Belgian-style imperial stout. And I'll use that to segue into you sharing some news, Brian.
all right, that is a good segue because we've got some bad news. Weirbacher has filed for bankruptcy again, and they've closed their tap room, quote, until further notice. This is the second bankruptcy for Weirbacher in just the space of 3 years. According to details compiled by Brewbound from various sources, apparently the brewery owes the IRS and 91 other creditors around $1.5 million. This latest Chapter 11 bankruptcy will allow Weirbacher to restructure while retaining control of their operations. Despite the dismal stats, the brewery remains optimistic, saying that on social media that they can keep the core brands going on shelves, and they're working on new beers for the tap room when it reopens. So I have a feeling like I'm never going to see Sunday Morning Stout again, am I?
Yeah, that's we talked about that a little bit in the chat last week. It's sad. They were
really
a favorite, an old school favorite.
I liked a lot of their stuff. They had so many great ones that all their anniversary beers were fun. They're different, experimental, interesting things. I was looking at their tap list. I noticed they are very shy on IPAs, which might be what's hurting them right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I saw that really wasn't their thing.
It was not. No.
And I was okay with that, Brian. I was totally okay with that. Well, you are listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take a quick break, but we will be right back with more from Pareidolia Brewing Company. Pete, I can make you a fairly solid guarantee that won't be the first time I stumble over that here. So I'm doing my best. I'm giving it my all.
I accept that wholeheartedly. It's okay. It's a
Thank
weird
you.
word and a weird name, but
I appreciate you accepting us. Good deal.
I assume that
Good
everybody
deal.
who's a visitor to the brewery, immediately they're a visitor because they can't pronounce the name.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, they have no idea. They slaughter it, but it's all good. It's the funny thing is when they come in and they don't even have a clue what Pareidolia is, because we have pictures up all over the pub of Pareidolia examples that people have sent to us or we've taken pictures of, and they'll call a staff member over and say, is it me or are these pictures looking at me?
They're like, this is creepy. This is creepy.
It creeps them out until we tell them what it is, and they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's totally just you.
We went to a brewery up in Tennessee, and I actually forget the name of the little town, but Monkey Town Brewing Company. And their claim to fame is they're in the city where the Scopes monkey trials were. You remember those, Pete, back in the day?
What was that?
Yeah. So the Scopes monkey trials, I think it was in the 50s, maybe, Brian, but a local teacher was, quote, accused of teaching evolution in school, which was apparently banned in Tennessee.
Gotcha.
From what I recall of the story, the teacher said, I didn't do this. This is not. But then he got together with the townspeople and were like, you know what? We can turn this into some media. We can turn this in. So
it's a show trial. Tim.
Apparently he took the heat from it to basically bring attention to the town there. So, but if you go into Monkey Town Brewing and you don't know the story of it, they have pictures around, of like the trial and the people and all that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. Yeah.
And you go in there and you're like, why on earth is this called Monkey Town?
What is this, man? In Tennessee?
In Tennessee? Do you have monkeys here?
Yeah. The Scopes monkey trials. Yeah. And as we've mentioned, we have a buddy who was a primate scientist in a previous life. And
I wonder if he's ever been up there to Monkey Town.
I don't know. Yeah. But don't call apes monkeys or monkeys apes or anything around him. He's a very chill guy, but that'll get him worked a little bit. Don't
one of his hot buttons. He's got some primate hot buttons.
Yes. Yeah. Don't be dissing my monkeys and my apes.
Don't be messing with the monkeys.
What's that? I didn't get any of that.
Oh yeah, there's some of the 21 left over here. You should.
I need to send you guys some beer, huh?
Drink and drink. We're not going to argue if that
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
We're not going to argue. What are you sipping on today, Pete?
I am drinking a Voluntold Stout. It's a
Okay.
chocolate oatmeal stout that I brewed about a month and a half ago.
Cool. Awesome.
Voluntold.
Good stuff.
That's a good term that pops up frequently at work.
You know, I just learned it a
Voluntold?
couple months
Yeah.
ago.
Mm-hmm.
Some younger folks were telling me what it was, and I said, you know, I've been doing that my whole life. I didn't know there was a word for that.
Yeah. Yep. See, that Stephen Pete is always here. That's right. Dayton, Tennessee.
Yep.
Dayton, Tennessee. Was that before? I knew it was a while ago. I didn't remember when. I do remember hearing about it when I was younger. And when I was younger was a while ago.
That was a while ago, Tim.
Yeah. Shut your face, Brian.
Yeah.
Hey, Siri, when were the Scopes Monkey trials?
There you go.
Here's what I found.
Oh, here we go.
All right. She's not going to say
Oh, no actual
this. I
audio.
thought she
Okay.
in Dayton, Tennessee.
1925.
There we go. See, Stephen Pete, he's on there even quicker. 19. Oh, I didn't realize it was that long ago. 1925.
Yeah, so it was
huh?
when you were a very young child, Tim.
It was young.
Yeah,
I was only like 7.
Yeah.
20. I just barely. Wait, was that during Prohibition? When did Prohibition? I know the 21st Amendment.
You said 25.
Stephen, when did the 21st Amendment go into effect? So
I think it was Prohibition. Was that? Oh God! Now
I know it was
I thought it
13
was
20,
years
20.
long.
It was
wasn't
the
it?
20s, like 21 to 29, maybe,
Yeah,
or something like
somewhere
that.
in there.
I know it
So
lasted 13 years.
13 years.
Oh, so maybe early 30s then.
So I was bootlegging during that time. I was a 7-year-old bootlegger.
You're walking across the Great Lakes on that ice sheet.
That's it. Yes.
Throwback
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago. Actually, that wasn't
man,
last
so
week.
many
That's 2 weeks ago.
callbacks.
Yeah.
Can't think that far back. 20 to 33. There you go. So yeah, that's it. That's why they were angry in Dayton, Tennessee. They didn't have any liquor.
Ah, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah.
Oh, they had liquor.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Look,
everybody
that does
had
not
liquor.
support my story, Nate.
Everybody really did have liquor.
They didn't have any liquor. Wink, wink, wink,
Yeah.
wink, wink. No, this is dry. Totally dry.
Very,
here.
very dry. Except for our cough syrups. We get a
Yeah.
lot of coughs down here. And the Coca-Cola, yes. With
Yeah.
straight up heroin. Or no, cocaine. Well, what was it? Allegedly.
What?
The Coca-Cola. What
Cocaine.
is cocaine?
Oh, cocaine.
Hence the name. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of the cocaine, as they call it.
No legal liquor in Dayton. No legal liquor. You know what? I want to give a shout out to our friends at Ironmonger for those who are regulars to the show. Here we go. They are a partner, a sponsor. Our studio is inside of their brewery, and they've just launched a ranch water, which is a new beverage to me, Brian. I'm not real familiar, but 4 6s, Grit and Glory. And I am drinking their, I think this one just says natural lime juice. It's blue agave natural lime, Brian.
Does it have electrolytes in it? Does it have what plants
I'm
crave?
sure it does.
I just think ranch
I'm sure.
water. Ranch
Yeah.
water is such an interesting term. I guess it makes sense. You know, the concept behind it is what, tequila and water and lime juice, right? Isn't that what that
Yes,
is?
and I will say I finally realized what this kind of reminds me of: a not too sweet, slightly watery margarita.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and that's not a dig on this because I kind of think that's what it's supposed to be.
When you think about it, lime juice and tequila or something agave
Yeah,
based
yeah.
together, even
No
though that,
scissor in here, just keeping it a little
even-
less sweet.
and that's closer probably to being a hard seltzer than it is to anything else. It's not really. I don't think of that as an RTD cocktail. Do you
Okay.
agree? It's kind of
I'm
not.
not sure if I don't think it's in that classification.
Yeah, I don't know if I.
Do you know, Pete? Do you know anything about ranch water and its classification as a beverage?
I've never heard of ranch water.
Okay.
I do not.
So I know I've seen a few places doing ranch water, and Brian looked it up, and it's basically tequila water and lime or a juice,
like
right?
carbonated water, a tonic water, seltzer water, lime juice, and tequila.
And some
That's
tequila.
it.
So that
that's
would
it.
be an RTD, I guess. That would probably.
I guess
categorize as an
technically it would be,
RTD.
wouldn't it?
But
Right.
that drinks like a hard seltzer, which really technically a hard seltzer is kind of an RTD too when you think about
Correct.
it. It's just a
Yeah.
very watery.
Yeah,
one,
I
you know?
guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's not beer. If you're, well, I
No.
guess it depends because I think some people were making a very light small beer that they did.
Yeah, that's right.
So-
A few people were doing that. I think a few people were doing even like lower, like very small gozes for it, which,
Yeah.
oh, who did that? Do you remember who did that?
I don't know about that.
Oh, I think it was a Gozer, a very, very small sour Berliner or something like that, that they were using as a base for a kind of a hard seltzer kind of alternative.
Tangy hard seltzer.
And it was really good. I can't think of who it was. Somebody, I want to say somewhere in the West Coast. That doesn't help any, but
it doesn't.
It wasn't over
it's
here.
It's a big area, Brian.
What I'm saying is it's not one we'll likely see around here.
In Georgia.
That's right. Somewhere
Okay.
not here.
Pete, is it par or pear?
Pear.
Pear. Okay.
Oh, it's a
It's
Pareidolia.
Pareidolia.
Okay. Pareidolia.
Oh, okay.
I tell people, think
Pareidolia.
of paradise, think of Dole pineapples, Pareidolia.
Pareidolia. There you go.
All right. All right.
And that reminds me of Pilgrim's Dole, which is a quad, I believe, from New Holland.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Familiar with the name. I haven't heard that one in a while. Was that
The
a quad?
Pilgrims were known for their pineapples in the colonies. The
The
Pilgrim's Dole, that's what that refers to as the pineapple farming in the original 13 colonies.
Oh.
Yeah, and Dole Whip, that's them.
Is that them as well?
Yep.
Okay. I'm just going to go with that without questioning it.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's exactly
Pete,
what that
feel
means.
free to make up stuff about the Treasure Coast as we go along.
You know, I can't question anything because some
See.
of the stuff you're saying, I'm like, all right, I'll go with
You're
that.
like, okay,
I'll
you
just
sure?
go
That
with it.
sounds good. He seems
Sounds
confident
harmless.
in that total BS. So
Tim enjoys confidently lying to people.
Yeah.
I have noticed this.
confidently.
We actually just brewed a beer with locally grown pineapples, and he's one of the last pineapple farmers in Florida. He's been doing it for a long time, and he's getting close, I think, calling it quits. But we got some pineapples the other week, put him in within a day of him picking them. So it's pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome.
I
that
would
local
really like
stuff.
to have a fresh pineapple. Is pineapple a plant? Is it off of a tree? I have no idea what a pineapple actually is.
You know what?
No, I have no idea.
I know Pete does if he's got a pine. They're really interesting. Your mind will be blown the first time you see one.
Does it walk on the land and you just
they're an animal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I figured they had to be.
Yeah.
Just given what they look like.
You know that the Native Americans used to live off the pineapple herds on the plains
I'd heard this.
until Americans came in and they wiped them out.
You know
You've
what
seen the stacks of pineapples on the plains where they just
Didn't they run them
wiped
off
them
of
out?
cliffs because it was
They
easier
did.
to hunt them that way?
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
pineapple
pineapple
hats were
hats.
really popular back in the day, so they were
Right.
hunting them for their pineapple hats.
It's really an
Pineapple
absolutely
hats.
amazing story, the history of the American plains pineapples.
That's right.
So, all right, let's get back
Oh.
to it. Enough for now. Pete, let's get back at it. You ready, sir?
Yes, sir.
There we go.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Remember, all episodes are available on demand. So if you missed the broadcast, get the podcast. Beer Guys Radio is available on the Podcast Park and all popular and unpopular podcasting apps. Now let's get back to Pareidolia Brewing Company. I think I got close with that one.
Pete, I think a good place for us to start here is this tricky word that we've been trying to navigate ourselves around there. So how did you come up with that as a name for your brewery, and what does it mean?
That's the $1 million question for most people that find out about us. My wife Lynn and I were sitting on the back porch one night drinking beer, a little fire going in the chimney, and a full moon, and a cloud came by that looked exactly like Ralph from The Simpsons.
Of course. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. And for some reason, we both knew that that's pareidolia, where your mind tries to make sense out of chaos. So we generally look for familiar patterns, and faces are the most common thing. And we thought, what are the odds that somebody's got that word already cinched up for a brewery? And of course, no one did.
No, free game there, right? Good.
Free game there. So, popular examples of pareidolia would be Jesus in Toast, The Man on the Moon. With all the pictures that come back from the Mars rovers, people are constantly seeing things in the rocks, and it's just fun. There's nothing serious about it. It's a psychological term that, again, our brains are hardwired to make sense of chaos. So we try to make sense of unusual patterns of things.
We are pattern recognition machines.
Yes.
I was going to ask because I saw it, because I'm not familiar with the term, so I'm not surprised nobody had come up with that for a brewery. It's not a disorder. It really is kind of a natural way that humans are, basically, being pattern matching
Yeah,
machines.
we are all actually hired to do this, and it was shortly after we opened that some neuroscientists won some kind of global award for discovering what part of the brain is responsible for it. Turns out to be behind our ears. And they actually, for a long time, it was considered something almost like a mental deficiency. I read an article not too long ago. They're actually trying to change the entire description of that phenomena to not be something that's negative. It's something positive. It's I guess it supports that our brain is really complex and tries to make sense of the world around us. It's nothing bad. It's about just coping in the world you're in.
That's pretty cool, actually, when you think about it.
It makes a lot of sense, Tim. Like, we've got very much terabytes of information flying in at us at any given time. We would be overwhelmed if we didn't make things into patterns that we could manage. So it makes a lot of sense. As a guy who's
makes sense. We're trying to process it, man.
Yeah, seriously. I can't sit and look at every single beer bottle on the shelf and process it. I can just generalize it. Oh, it's a beer bottle, and just move on with my life without ever really seeing what the heck is on it. Otherwise we'd be paralyzed, right?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Just and I don't know if this is related, Pete. Don't know if you know if this is related, but they talk about reading. When you're reading it, speed readers learn you're more reading the block of text and reading each single word there. So it's recognizing that pattern that your brain processes, right. Learning how to work with that. The brain, it's an amazing thing.
It is. It's all about the shortcuts, Tim. It's how we get by.
I'm
We're
all about
getting
that,
by
man.
on shortcuts.
I am all
the motto
about
of my
that.
life, getting by on shortcuts.
Yeah. So Brian's little comment, he said, due to the name of your brewery, you should get one of those machines that prints on beer foam. So you can
print faces in
hide
them.
images in there on the phone.
That's pretty wild. There actually was an English poet in Northern England reached out to us a long time ago, found us online, and he was working on a book of poems about pareidolia in beer foam. And of course, my red flags are going up. Like, what is this guy trying to get out of me? But he was legit. He was a legit poet, fairly famous over there. And he had us send pictures of beer foam in our beers with the name of them. And he had the book published on Amazon. We have a whole chapter in his book. So
that is what's the name of the book, Pete?
It's something in telephone love hearts. It's a very obscure title. But I think if you just put in love hearts telephones, it'll come up on Amazon Books.
Okay, we'll do some Googling. We'll find it.
In the break, I may have to look for that.
We will find it. Absolutely. Good stuff. So we've already talked about Pirate's Treasure.
Yes, we have.
Along the Treasure Coast. But what's the beer scene like there? Yeah, I believe you're the only brewery in your town. Is that correct? Or you were the first?
We were the first one in our town. We now have two. Our friends Mash Monkeys Brewing around the corner from us, a couple blocks. But when we first opened in 2014, we were the third brewery on the Treasure Coast to open. And when I say Treasure Coast, it's about an hour-long stretch of coastline on the east coast of Florida. And then I'm actually drinking, I don't know if you can see the logo there.
It's very hard to see in general on the radio.
Yeah. It's
okay.
That's true.
Well, for you guys
difficult. Yeah.
But anyway, yes, I'm one of the co-founders of the Treasure Coast Wine and Ale Trail. So we have one winery. I think we're up to 10 breweries now, cider works, a meadery. So when we started it, there were only 4 breweries and two in planning. So it's growing. It's a growing scene. For this late in the game, we're in 2022. Having moved from the Pacific Northwest to Florida back in 2003, it was shocking how little beer there was in the entire state.
Brian, you know a thing or two about that, don't you?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, you lived in, I believe I saw that you lived in Oregon for a period of time. I'm curious where you were living and what beer you were drinking while you were there, because I am also from Oregon.
Well, we lived in Beaverton, just outside of Portland for a little while. Then we moved out to the country, out in Scappoose, Oregon. And our daughter was born. She's an Oregonian. And the beer there, my mother's milk, honestly, was Mirror Pond from Deschutes Brewing.
We drank a lot of Mirror Pond. We started, my buddies and I, we started drinking Black Butte Porter, and we switched over, I think, at some point. Exactly why, just kind of happened. I think it was kind of a trend in the beer scene at the time, but all Deschutes, man.
Do we get Mirror Pond here in Georgia?
I haven't
seen Black
seen,
Butte, but I've never seen Mirror Pond.
I haven't seen Mirror Pond, and that's a classic. I think they still make it, but we get the fresh squeezed and all of the more trendy ones, but that classic pale ale, I'd love to see that again. I don't think I've seen it here. So unfortunately, no.
You're fortunate if you can get any of that. I mean, Deschutes is a great brewery. Actually, our one of our core beers is called Slow Paddle Porter, and they gave me the ingredients, but they said good luck with everything else.
Okay.
And so we ended up making our version of Black Butte Porter we've been brewing it now for almost 8 years. It's a great.
How
beer.
close did you get?
2016, we won a gold medal at the best Florida beer.
Okay. All right.
So I guess we got pretty
so
close.
even if it's not the right, it's a good, even if it's not a clone or as close as you wanted it, it's a darn good beer.
It was a good beer. And like I said, all I got were the ingredients. They gave me no temperatures, no times, no percentages. I had to go strictly off my memory of that beer because I drink a lot of that too.
The sarcastic breweries like we use malt.
Yeah.
There's malt. There's some dark malt.
Hang on, there's water in there too.
What?
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm writing this down.
Have you heard of yeast? Because you might want to look into that. We use a little bit of that as well. You might be in luck sometime soon. They finally made it all the way over to Georgia, so we're a state away. They might make it down to where you're at before long. So
cool.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
I think they were planning on an East Coast facility.
They were in Virginia, and because of all of the situations going on lately, they had to abandon the property. So
absolutely
never happened.
So Pete, what's the popular beer at your brewery? What are Treasure Coasters drinking today?
Our flagship beer is called, it's actually numbers 32958, which is actually our zip code. It's a hazy IPA, and we named it that because when we expanded into our second location, we outgrew our first one. We moved into the old post office. So it was kind of homage to our zip code. And that's Citra Mosaic and all that good stuff. Me and several friends actually flew up to Vermont I think we were there 4 days and hit 21 breweries. This is back 2015 maybe. Just to see what everything, all the hype was about these New England IPAs. And I went up to, the Alchemist, Hill Farmstead, Burlington Beer, all those guys. And when I came back on the plane, that recipe was in my head, and it's been our best-selling beer since then.
Good stuff. Go taste the experts and go from there. Yeah. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We need to take a quick break, but we will be right back. I want to update our music. I want more music like that. I want like that one's a little rockier. Some of our stuff is a little rockabilly.
I think we need to just straight up steal some music
twang
from the Sex Pistols and just
punk it up.
Yeah, exactly. Just steal it, the way they would have back in the day.
We'll play some copyrighted stuff until they shoot us down. Then we'll just switch to some other.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
We get the C and D, and then we can move along.
Yeah. What's that? That's right. Just wait till you get the C and D.
Exactly
right.
Yeah. You get the press from the C and D and move on to the next thing.
I think the difference with us is because we're broadcast. We do that one time. We can get a big fine along with the C and D.
Oh, that's a fairly good point.
They'll come right at you.
So remind me, that poetry book, what were the keywords I was supposed to look for?
I think it's something telephone and love hearts, if I'm not mistaken.
Telephone and I'm going to say telephone and love hearts.
On Amazon Books.
Telephone, love hearts.
And then throw Pareidolia in there if you need to.
Yeah, I might have to
dial it down.
Come up. Yeah, sorry, I can't remember the title. I mean, it was about 6 years ago that it came out. And we managed to make the timing work where he did a poetry reading to our pub wearing one of our T-shirts, which was pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
And he was drinking a 6-point resin, which blew my mind. He had
Okay.
6 Point Resin IPA in Northern England.
Well, that's something. American beer, man. People hunting it down.
I was gonna say, yeah, people are shipping beer all over the place. I do see people occasionally, like somebody that I know is in Ireland or the UK. I'm like, that's a beer I know you can't get there, and that's one of ours from over here. I'm like, I
Right.
don't know how you got that.
They know people.
People who know people who
Did you
drink
find the
beer.
book?
No, I'm still looking.
Okay.
It did not. I thought I would find it very easily. I'm going to have to do some. I found super beets, Tim. So if you need some beets in a powdered form, I found that. I don't know why
Okay.
that showed
Good,
up.
Good.
Looks like I'm going to have to take this offline because I am not seeing it.
Nate, you wanna get us
Winston
another beer, sir?
Plows. I just remembered the poet's name. Winston Plows. Plowes.
There you go. See what you
Okay,
find.
hang on a second. Winston Plows, huh?
Isn't that a great
I guess
poet
probably
name?
Bearded Iris for this next one.
Plowes.
What's that? It's I didn't even see it was out there. All right. Never mind, Nate. We're good. Oh, that's this is brown.
Is it what?
Why don't you grab us something else? This mood ring, that's not supposed to be that. I think we got an old mood ring. It's definitely working if it's a mood ring, because that is one brown IPA. Yeah. Chug this, Brian, so I can have a clean glass.
Are you sure it's brown? It doesn't look that brown to me.
I don't think that beer is supposed to be that color. I'm
Uh,
going to try it. I think that's old.
hang on a second. Does this look brown to you? Tim, are you?
That's old.
It may well be old.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
What do you think? What do you think of the color on that one? Actually, it looks lighter on the screen, I think.
It looks lighter to me, and
Yeah.
like maybe they got some crystal malt in there, which
Yeah.
is maybe what you're seeing.
Well, it doesn't say born on or Best Buy. It just says June 7, 2022.
2020. I would have thought. I would have guessed that'd been in there for a year. To be honest with you.
So I thought, because I bought this, and I'm fairly certain I picked this one up, and I looked at it specifically, looked at the date on
Not
it.
yet, Nate.
I think that was
Not
the
yet.
brewed on. You're not ready for that one yet.
Now, do we have a Pilsner? I'm sure we got a Pilsner.
We do have the
We got a Pilsen Liberation there?
Pilsen Liberation.
Let's go for that.
I've been holding off and drinking it just for such an occasion.
So, Pete, this story, our buddies at Three Taverns Brewing here in Decatur, Georgia, had a beer called Prince of Pilsen. And Pilsner Urquell, right?
Yes, it's their
Reached
experimental
out.
brewery. Yeah.
Pilsner Urquell reached out to him, and I think they said something like it's time for the Prince to come home or something
wow.
along those lines. But anyhow, the short of it is they went over to Czech Republic and did a collaboration there with their Pivo Proud. Is it called, Brian?
That sounds right. I think that's
really
the
cool
their
opportunity.
experimental portion of the brewery.
Yeah, right.
It's a
Just
huge
amazing.
opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with their experimental brewery, and then they came back here and did one called Pilsen Liberation. And the one that they brewed in Czech Republic, they served at the Pilsen Liberation Festival. So an American brewer invited to Czech Republic to brew a Czech Pils to serve at a Czech beer festival. That's pretty cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
And I did find, I believe I found the, not the listing of the book, but I found a reference to it. So Winston Plows, and the name of the book is Telephones, Love Hearts, and Jellyfish.
Okay.
And it was published in 2016. So it's for anybody who's looking for pareidolia references in poetry. There you go.
Is it on Amazon, or are you just finding the listing?
I
for it
did
there?
not see it's listed on Amazon, but I did
Okay.
not specifically look for the title. I could not find it by the author's name. But
Alrighty.
again,
Now you know
he's
why I
Irish.
couldn't remember the whole title.
Right. What a name, right?
He's Irish, and so that, yeah, even searching by the name of that book may be available on Amazon.co.uk, but probably not Amazon.com.
Did you
would
say
be my
he's
guess.
Irishin?
He's Irishin. Yes. He's-
Irishin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I say he's Irishin?
I
He's
think you did.
Irish, and that may
Irishin.
not be
Okay.
available on the US version
Fine.
of Amazon. So, but I did find it interesting. That's cool. Good stuff. All right.
How about we talk some brewers guilds and beer laws when we come back in, Pete?
Sounds good to me.
All right. 3, Nate? Is that what you're saying? Seg 3?
Yeah. Ready?
I'm ready.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Next Friday is Hawaiian Shirt Day. So, if you want to, go ahead and wear a Hawaiian shirt and jeans.
Now, back to the Beer Guys radio show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our great radio affiliates, WSLA 1560 AM, Louisiana. Catch Beer Guys Radio on WSLA every Saturday at 8 a.m. Now let's get back to Pareidolia. I'm going to get there eventually.
We're trying, Pete.
Pareidolia Brewing Company.
We're doing our best for guys sitting around drinking beer all
That's
night.
right. It's
You're
getting
doing
harder
great.
as the show goes
You're
on.
doing great.
Yeah, good. Pete, we want to talk something that we love, and that is terrible beer laws. So we're a big fan of that. I know that you are you're on the board of directors of the Florida Brewers Guild. Is that correct?
That is correct, and I'm on the legislative committee within the board.
Very good. How long have you been involved with the guild?
Oh, I've probably been in the guild at least, I would say, 5 to 7 years now, and I've been on the board. This is coming into my second year with the board.
Okay. What are your big issues, concerns in the state of Florida right now?
The number one concern is the lack of ability to self-distribute, even on a small scale, at any scale whatsoever. The vast majority of breweries in Florida are smaller breweries. Many of them can barely afford the license that allows them to wholesale, let alone being able to, transport their beer across the street to a restaurant or bar. I mean, so that's our biggest thing, is having some form of self-distribution, which 33 states already have. Kentucky just passed their laws last year. The second big issue we have is franchise reform, which, for people who may not understand, franchise laws basically refer to the contracts that we sign up with distributors. So by law, with the 3-tier system, you either brew the beer, deliver the beer, or you sell the beer. But after Prohibition, you could not do all three. And brew pubs are the only exception, where we can actually brew the beer and sell it out of our tap room. But the franchise laws in Florida, and people don't believe me when I tell them this, statutorily, when you sign a contract with a distributor as a brewery in Florida, it is for the life of your brewery.
Life. Yes.
Wow. I know that here in Georgia, isn't like a 5-year agreement?
No, sir. It's the
is
same
it life?
here. It's life. I mean, now
I think you have
can
the
leave,
same law.
though, right?
So Pete, well, technically, Brian.
Okay.
Technically. And Pete, is it the same there, that there are methods to leave your distributor, but it's like so difficult and costly that it's almost better to just put up with them?
Some contracts will say you can buy your way out of your contract for 5 times the amount of the value of the beer they sold in a year. So if they sold
5 times
40,
the value
000,
sold in a year. Okay.
Wow, 5 years worth.
yes, 5 years worth or 1 year's worth times 5, just to get out of that distributor contract to sign up with another distributor for life.
You know what? Shout out to the wholesalers for having enough money to line those lawmaker pockets. Good job. Because I can tell you, if small brewers could do the same, we'd play the same way.
Yeah.
That's wholesalers got the money. They can do that. You can chase the trail. Go look at your lawmakers that support these distributor laws and check their funding. Check that, because Pete, I'll tell you this: we're very similar to you in Georgia with our laws. We're going for the same thing, self-distro. And what a lot of people may not think about is we passed on-site sales in Georgia that went into effect in 2017. We had a boom
big
of
for you
brewers.
guys. Yeah.
Yes, huge for us. And we went from like 50, I think, breweries in the state in 2016 to like 150.
Yeah.
In like a 5 to 6 year period there. That's jobs, revenue, tax dollars. That's what the state cares about. And it's more choice. For most places in Georgia, you're going to have a local brewery. You're going to be able to go out and get a fresh brewed beer. But the self-distribution, with the law changing that allowed us to have on-site sales, that allowed smaller brewers to open because you didn't have to go into distribution.
Sure.
But Pete, we're running into, and I imagine you could tell the same story in Florida. A small brewer opens, starts some tap room sales, and gets to the point where they want to do some distro. And it's hard to get a distributor to take on someone unless you're just crazy popular, unless you got a lot of hype behind you.
Right.
A distributor doesn't want to take on the little guy. So you're in this catch-22 of you have to have a distributor to distribute.
Right.
But a distributor doesn't want to take you because you're too small and you're not worth their time.
So you have to sign on for life with somebody who does not want your product and is not interested in representing your product.
Correct.
And will never sell your product for you. So
yeah.
Wow, that's a great deal for everybody,
It's a fantastic
isn't
deal.
it?
Everyone
Isn't that
wins.
the American dream?
Isn't it?
It absolutely is.
Build a
I tell
business
you.
and be told that you can only do this and nothing else. So
I think the American dream is buying the politicians so you can have an arrangement where you don't have to work for your money. Somebody is forced to give it to you. That's the American dream right there.
That's what I'm going to say. If someone finds me buying a Mega Millions ticket and they're like, what's the first thing you're going to buy? I'm like, a politician.
Politician.
Yeah, maybe a couple.
I hear they're for sale.
Maybe get me a couple politicians.
if
for
your
sure.
initials are AB, you own quite a few of
You
them.
do.
already.
You've already got several in there. Unfortunately, not my initials, Pete.
No,
so.
no, or
Yeah,
mine.
absolutely.
Nor mine.
But and with the self distro, Pete, what we're talking about there, I tell you what, rather than me rambling here, what are you looking? What do you want for your Florida brewers in terms of self distribution?
We're open to any form, whether it be a how many barrels per year you can self-distribute. I know, for example, North Carolina, 25,000 barrels a year or less, you can self-distribute the entire state. 100,000 barrels a year, and you can only self-distribute in your county. So there's a sliding scale with them. We were going to look at 1,500 to 2,500 barrels, which is not a lot. I mean, I've got a 5-barrel system, and I'm just going to hit 400 barrels this year.
Right.
And that's the majority of us. So we're looking to either do that, or there are some states where there's a geographical boundary from a point, outside your brewery, we'll say 25 miles. You can self-distribute 25 miles from where you produce the product. That lets you serve your local community and make those connections with the bars and restaurants that want to carry your beer. And then it guarantees a piece of the pie to the distributors. Anything beyond that 20, if you're a big brewery, you're going to want to send your beer out there, and you don't want to do it because logistics are cost prohibitive at that point.
Right. But
so those are the two biggies.
But a small brewery can load up a cargo van and take it to the bar or restaurant down the street.
Absolutely.
They can make sure that locals can drink their beer, and
they probably only make enough beer to do that.
Right.
If they have a 3-barrel, 2 or 3, I know breweries have 2 or 3 barrel systems. That's really all they're going to do is a handful of bars in town. And then people can say, hey, I'm drinking local beer.
Exactly.
I'm surprised that there isn't, and this is not something that could be passed. It probably could be exploited, but that's beside the point. An emergency kind of provision in self-distribution. If you've got a client that has a problem, like a beer is just straight up bad. Like they've got an entire keg of beer that's bad. I'm surprised that there is not something in the books that gives you an emergency provision to go over and replace that keg.
Are you surprised though?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
But I'm thinking I'm putting that out there is something the lowest possible hanging fruit that perhaps an emergency self-distribution provision is the way to get that door at least cracked open a little bit.
So my opinion,
maybe that's a bad idea.
Well, my opinion, Pete, would be that's opening that door, and the wholesalers are going to fight over even something like that because it's opening that door.
Correct. Well,
but
they have all the cards.
Rationalize.
They don't. Yeah, I mean, if you hold all the cards, why would you want to negotiate?
Sure.
And I get that. But, there's another thing in this too. And I'm not anti-distribution. My distributors, that I just signed a new distributor last week. They know what I'm talking about. It's not that we're all going to go and self-distribute. It's having the option if it works for your business model, period. Yeah. And you create the brand, you create the hype, you buy the kegs, you fill the kegs, you do the packaging, you do everything, but you can't choose where it's going or how it's getting there. And that's all we want is just a little hand in what we've created. Just in Florida last year, $3.1 billion was brought to the economy from craft beer alone. Yet we don't even have a seat at the table. We have to beg to have, like you were saying earlier, some people are, the term I've heard used in our circles is coin operated.
Sure.
So some people won't sit down and talk to you unless you've, donated. So we are creating a PC for that very reason, to not to buy politicians, but to help them get elected because they support what we're trying to do.
That's good.
If you are a winery in Florida, you can self-distribute, you can sell directly to the public. When we do those craft beer festivals, when we're all donating product to a charity, a winery can come in and sell the bottles directly to those same people. We
Yeah.
can only donate beer and give samples. So it's the disparity between alcohols and between the three tiers is what we're
Want to balance it out.
Yeah.
That's
You're
it.
listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We need to take us a break, but we will be right back.
It does kind of drive me nuts that effectively brewers don't own their product. The distributors do.
What is the number, Pete? I think it's either, is it 8 cents on the dollar that a brewer makes, something along those lines, off of their product?
I would say
In distribution.
in distribution, yes. To give you an
Yeah.
example, a 5-gallon keg of IPA, I'll sell $56 wholesale. That same keg in my tap room is worth over $200.
Yeah.
So there's not
Give
a
it
lot
away.
of margins there.
It's because you don't own the products. Like the distributor shows up and it's like, where's my product? That's my
That's it.
money.
And
Oh, you
once
can have,
they get it, it's their
here are
beer.
your coins.
Yep, yep.
I dislike this so much. It's always bothered me. And I think if this were something that people actually saw, it was visible to people on a wider scale, there would be outrage about this. But I don't, that's the problem. People won't ever
They
see
don't
it.
know it. And if a distributor is
Right.
keeping your beer, and you know what? I want to say, like you, Pete, we bash distribution here a lot because we think there's some imbalance there. There are good distributors. There are distributors
Absolutely.
that care about their brewers. Nate used to work for a brewery distributor, Modern Hops. They have
We
a
generally
very
like those guys.
they have
yeah.
a very clear you can get out of this contract
Yeah.
if you don't want to be here clause. You know, we're not gonna hold you to that lifetime thing.
Right.
You know,
right.
so
There are some good distributors out there. The one
Sure.
we just signed up with last week is kind of a startup. And I said, I want a clause in our contract that in 2 years we can reevaluate. Or if
Yeah.
for some reason you decide you sell your business, we have first right of refusal, whether that contract continues or
yeah.
not. That's it. That is like all we asked. And they gave it to us, which is rare in Florida. Most distributors won't give me that. So we have to kind of go with some of these startups to help them get going while they're helping move our product. So it should be a mutually beneficial arrangement is what we're shooting for.
Yeah.
I think,
And
I
a
think
couple other stories of these issues that I can share. There was a brewer here who they brew 40 barrel batches, and they wanted to do a special, a one-off beer, and they talked to their distributor, and they're like, we want to do this. And they said, okay, we'll take 40 barrels of it. We'll pay this, whatever the price happened to be agreed to. Once that batch was done, conditioned, packaged, and ready to go, the distributor's like, well, we didn't pre-sell as much of it as we wanted to. We can't take it. If we do take it, it's now at this price, at X price. They're like, wait a minute, that's not what we agreed to. They're like, well, that's the best we can do. And the distributor has the leverage there. Another one, man, and I'm forgetting what the other story. Oh, clown shoes in Georgia. You remember that story?
I don't recall, but yes, go ahead and tell us.
Clown shoes distributed in Georgia, Pete. The distributor that they work with decided they did not want to be in craft beer anymore. It was either wine and spirits or something like that. They're like, we don't want to do craft beer anymore. So they said, hey, clown shoes, we're not going to distribute you anymore. They're like, that's fine. Release us so we can get another distributor. They said no. And there was nothing they could do about it.
Yeah,
If
we're
they
not
wanted
gonna
to
sell
just
it.
let their beer set in the warehouse, they were not obligated to do that. Clown shoes could have probably sued them. They could have done, any number of things. It did end up that the hype on the internet and people bad-mouthing this distributor around changed the situation. But per their contract, they were in their
locked in.
rights to
Yeah.
do that. They didn't have to release them to go to somewhere else, even if they didn't want to distribute the product anymore. Pete, is your distributor required to purchase anything from you?
There's no set amount as far as our contract goes, but it does say that they are obligated to pick up beer that we have pre-sold.
Okay.
So if I've got, I don't have a sales rep, I'm pretty much it. But when I go out and I gather new accounts that want to try our beer, and my distributor has to, by law, get that beer to that end user.
Okay.
For sure.
But if you wanted to do a special beer release that, let's say, they didn't necessarily pre-sell, if for whatever reason your distributor didn't want to get that, they're not obligated to do so. Is that correct?
I think they are obligated, whether it's this came up a lot during COVID when, of course, everything slowed down and a lot of places were closed. Regardless of the distributor you were signed on with, a lot of the brewers got the same kind of email that we're only going to pick up your core beers right now.
Right.
And me being me, I responded right away. No, you'll pick up whatever beer I tell you need to come pick up. This is my product, and by law, you have to distribute it for me. You don't make those decisions. I do. And they consented. They're like, you're right. So it's unfortunate that you have to go to battle sometimes, but
it is.
It's
over
interesting.
time,
Yeah, when you have a chance to get one over on the distributor who has all the power in the world, absolutely do that, man.
I would love to get a distributor that would. Here in Georgia, we have I think it's GBWA, Georgia Beer Wholesalers Association. And I forget the gentleman's name. I won't call him out by name and make anything ugly. But years ago, when we were looking to get the beer bill changed here in Georgia and we work with the guild, and we did have lawmakers that were, allies to the cause. And that Senator Hunter Hill did a lot for us there.
Yeah,
so we got the great things done. But they reached out to us after we did a story about wholesalers and basically said, guys, you got it wrong, or something along those lines. I don't remember. I was like, hey guys, let's meet and talk then, because Pete, if I'm wrong, I want to know. I want the true story out there, whether it bucks what my opinion is or whatever. We went and had lunch. We had a good conversation. There's a different mindset, to be honest with you, with wholesalers. A 400 barrel brewery, Pete, they don't consider they would consider you a small brewery, but they would also consider a 50,000 barrel a year brewery a small brewery,
absolutely,
or something along those lines. That's where their mind is, because most of these big wholesalers, they're with AB, Miller, Coors, and all this. You go to a warehouse and it's acres and acres and acres of the macro beers with the room the size of a convenience store with their entire craft portfolio. Something along those lines.
They want to pick up pallets full of half barrels and be on their way. No, you're totally right. You're spot on with that.
Yeah, so that's the mindset there. They're not even thinking on the craft beer scale with this things. But we had lunch and had a good conversation, and basically you could tell that nice guy, nice conversation, mindset was in a totally different place. And their fear isn't Pete delivering a keg to the bar down the street. It's that opens the door to the 50 billion barrels a year they're distributing for all these other breweries. That's what they can't separate the two mentally.
And the reality is your service should be good enough that you aren't afraid of that. If you're afraid that everybody will jump ship the moment they can, that means you're bad at your job.
Right.
You need to reevaluate what you're doing as a distributor.
Right? Yeah.
Because if you're providing a valid service, then your service will be enough. AB InBev is not going to do their own distribution unless they own a distribution warehouse already. They're not going to do it. They can always use a distributor. The smaller people are going to do it because you're not servicing them properly, and you need to pull your head out of your rectum and realize this.
But Pete, to finish this story out with this, I invited them to come on our show, and they're like, I don't know. We kind of know your guys' opinion on the matter. And I told them point blank, guys, I want the honest truth out there. If we've got something wrong, I want people to know. And I was going to have the president of our Brewers Guild on there, along with the president of the Wholesalers Association. Anyhow, by the end of the conversation, I did something I wouldn't normally do. I told him that I would let him review the show before he launched it. And if he didn't like it, he could shoot it down. I was just trying what I could do to get the guy on for a conversation. He said, okay. He said, I'll do, and I'm thrilled. Called the president of our Brewers Guild. She's like, holy shit. She's like, he's never agreed to an interview before. So, Pete, I was great. I got this guy to agree to an interview that he wouldn't do with anybody else. However, 3 days later, I get an email from their PR folks, and it essentially said, "We do not think this is in our best interest." So
They have
you got close.
Yeah,
in
so
the
we did-
defensible point of view.
Yeah.
The reason you won't get on and talk about a thing is because you can't defend
Yeah.
your points. You
Yeah.
can't, and you
They
know
can't,
it ahead
you're
of
right.
time. It's so incriminating, and
Infuriating.
yeah, I'm
Roar,
I'm
roar.
infuriated by this because I really
Uh-huh.
hate that somebody is forcing some breweries into a form of servitude. Like,
You're
we
right.
own your product,
You're
we
right.
own
It
your
really
labor,
is, right?
we
Yeah.
own you. Like, no,
yeah.
that's so wrong. There's something so wrong
yeah.
about this.
Well, if I can, real quick, while you have your computer up, go to freethebrew.com.
Free the brew. Get it up there,
That's
Brian.
a
I actually
website
did
I
look at that
started.
earlier. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's you run that, right?
I started that when COVID hit, and that ended up being why the guild asked me to join, because we got a lot of publicity out of that, and that was purely out of the frustration and anger that we were all being told to close.
And he's got the bullet points on there: self-distribution, franchise law reform, brand registration, licensing fee updates. A few on here we didn't talk about, actually.
Yeah, some more stuff on there. Pete, we're gonna go vintage here for our final beer of the show. We have a Weirbacher Tiny here from 2010
Oh wow!
that we're about to crack into. So
I wish I was there to sample. I
right,
love Weirbacher
let's
beer.
let's see how we do here.
Knock on wood that it's great. The older Weirbacher beers hold up pretty well, but
Yeah,
I mean, we're looking at 12 years at this point.
it is. Yes, Belgian
You know,
stout. So that has
they
potential.
probably, as
Yeah.
far as the high gravity stuff, they probably had it more dialed in than most breweries in this country. Honestly,
Yeah,
I mean,
they were
almost
good.
everything they do is high gravity.
A lot of it, yeah. Really, a lot of it was their oh boy,
That
insanity.
it's got some good pressure on it. Okay, there was a hiss there, so we're still carved
okay,
up.
yeah, we should be all right.
We didn't get any gushing.
Okay,
All right, think we're good. Let's see what we got
looks like
here.
we're in the clear. We will not be wearing this beer tonight. Well,
No, I mean, yeah,
at least
yeah.
not as a result of it.
Good carb. You know it's holding there.
Yeah, it looks
Pete,
right.
you want some? Hold your glass out. I'll
Yeah.
fill you up, man.
Yes.
So
Load up your
Thank
beer
you.
flavored fax paper.
Yes.
We'll fax it over to you.
ooh, some dark fruit. Cocoa.
Yeah, the
Cocoa?
the idea that this is a Belgian.
Russian.
And I'm not generally Belgian stouts.
I've had a few that
Not
weren't so
typically my
I'm
thing.
not so into, but I like the way Belgians age typically. So a lot of promise in that.
That's fine. That's great. That aged well.
Ooh,
We
that's
got a winner.
big sherry notes in that. I get.
Yes.
Oh my goodness,
got a
that's
winner.
fantastic. That is delightful.
Sorry, Pete. Sorry to sit over here and
You know,
run our mouths about
I'm
this.
kind
great
of
vintage.
tasting it as you're
There
describing
you go. We'll
it,
keep
so.
talking about it, man. We'll keep getting those tasting notes. out there.
Weirbacher just needs to sign me up for a plan where they automatically deliver me Sunday
li-
morning stout, and I will pay them, and they will have money. There are other people that will sign up. They get out of Chapter 11. They can be on top of the world again.
Barrel char on the back of my tongue, like
Oh.
a little. I don't want to use it to, burnt, a little burnt taste, but in a good way. What I would say more barrel char.
Man, that's beautiful. Caramely.
Caramel, dark fruits,
Yeah.
maybe cherry, little brighter fruit
Yeah.
there.
I see what you're talking about. There's a little bit of like a woody astringency
Yeah.
or a char that's
Little
like
char,
sides
little
back
woody
of the
char
tongue.
there, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I
Well,
had
yeah,
not,
I'm glad
temperature is
I've
it?
been holding that one a long time.
I had not
So-
consulted that real estate on my tongue yet. So,
There you go.
Yes, that
All
is
right.
quite nice.
You
Let
found
that
it right
warm
there
up.
on the
at a-
Treasure Coast.
That's
didn't you?
right. That was my treasure
Yeah.
coast. It
Sorry.
turns out.
I'd let that one warm up for about a half hour.
You
and
know
watch
what?
how
You're
much
darn
that's
right.
gonna
This is straight
change.
out of the fridge. This will be even more. You're
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Thanks for saying that, because I would have enjoyed this and just chugged it down.
Yeah, let some
We
of that
also-
warm up and it'll
we
blow
also-
your mind.
We also run the
Yes.
risk potentially if the oxidative flavors that it generates are there in hiding, they may come out as it warms up.
I think you're wrong, and here's why. These old beers like this, especially the Belgians, oxidation is typically pleasant, like an
Okay.
old library book.
True. Yeah, that's a fair point. I've had a few that tasted actually really good.
And there's nothing
Very
off
cold?
in this right now.
And when they warmed up, I noticed at that point, I'm like, oh, there comes the cardboard. I didn't taste that when it
Okay.
was cold. So
Well, let's see
that's
what
a
happens.
risk. That's a risk. too.
Let's see what happens. Pete,
Well,
we're
don't
about to go
blame
into
me.
right. This is all Pete's fault.
Should never have put him on the show for this.
That's right. Pete, we're going to the fourth segment here, man. So last segment of the show, is there anything we have not mentioned that you want us to make sure that we do mention?
No, the whole legal thing was huge. So me
Okay.
and the guild, on behalf of the guild, I appreciate you guys letting us have a little platform there.
You bet, man. That's like, yeah, we just like to have a general conversation that mixes general beer talk with making sure info on your brewery is interspersed there. So
Appreciate
And
that.
we are very into
and cheese,
ridiculous
apparently.
beer laws and also cheese. Yes.
Yeah.
Cheese and ridiculous beer laws.
Man, you know what? I want cheese dash. It's like DoorDash, or
DoorDash,
Uber
but
Eats,
cheese.
but it's for fancy cheeses. I'm gonna call them and say, what's the stinkiest, most ammonia laden cheese you have? Bring me some of that.
Cheese saute or cheese saunter. It won't be a dash.
Sauters,
There'll be attitude involved when they show up.
Oh yeah.
Possibly berets. I don't
Did
know.
you really just order a quarter pound of cheese? You just paid $40 to have this delivered to you.
I ordinarily do not get out of my car for less than a wheel of cheese.
You're not ready for this
Yeah.
cheese.
I don't think you.
Yeah,
think
I'm
you can
taking
appreciate
this
it.
back. They don't give it to you
He
because
just
they
eats
judge
it right
you.
in front of you.
They judge
No.
you. You're not getting this cheese.
He sees you and just says no and eats
No,
it
that's
right in
it.
front of you.
No, nothing more. Damn cheese people.
Oh God.
All
Good
right.
stuff. What are we on? So, fourth segment here?
I think so.
Feels like it.
It is. Here we go.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
Now, back to the Beer Guys radio show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/beerguys. Patrons get cool perks like Beer Guys swag and commercial-free episodes. And a big thanks to our newest Patreon supporter, Matt Crawford. Thank you.
Mac
Thank you
is
so
the
much.
man.
He is the man.
He is the man.
Return of the Mac.
The
as you might say.
return of
That's
the
right.
Mac. You know who else is the man? Pete Anderson.
Pete Anderson.
He
Yeah.
is the man.
Let's get back to Pareidolia. There we go.
There
Got
you
it.
That's
go.
it.
You got
That's
it.
Brewing Company.
Pete, at least this is the last segment that, well, I can't even say segment now.
No,
At
we
least
can't.
this is the last segment where we are going to mangle the name of your brewery. So it's almost over. We apologize. During the break, we complained more about beer laws.
Oh, we did. Yeah.
It's distributors helpful, get the beer out there. Unfair, unbalanced system, and brewers need some more rights. So if you're in a state that doesn't have awesome beer laws, find out which of your politicians support them and support them. Go out, write letters, get on the grassroots. We made change, Brian. We changed the beer laws. I say we because we made the grassroots effort, because some people may not even know these issues are issues. Pete, you can probably speak to that. A lot of people have no idea of the problems a brewer faces out there.
They have no idea. They often ask why our beer isn't on tap everywhere around. And a lot of the retailers ask why they can't get it. It's because the distributors often, pick and choose what brands they're going to send to particular territories. And with the laws we have, I can't just deliver a keg across the street if it's a Friday night and they're out of IPA. I've got to have my distributor pick it up, take it to the warehouse, and then bring it back to the retailer. So it's convoluted. Most people don't know that. And that's why, with the Brewers Guild, our campaign this year is to really educate the public on what needs to be changed.
I think that is a key in making the change. Brewers know what the problems are. The wholesalers know what the problems are. The guild members know. The grassroots, the beer drinkers, unless you're nerds like us, unless you're part of that 1% of absolutely autistic beer drinkers who follow all of this stuff, you're not going to know this.
We're on the beer spectrum too.
We are on the beer spectrum. Proud of it.
Unless you know that, you don't know. And I would say what you said earlier is brewers have rights. They need to be recognized. Not that they need to get more rights. They have these rights. They need to be recognized.
Inalienable, Brian.
Inalienable is what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Pete, what is happening next? What's new, exciting, or what will be new for Pareidolia?
Well, Pareidolia, we are coming up on our 8-year anniversary. We opened back in 2014, as you mentioned earlier, as the only brewery in town. So we're going to have a big hoopla with that. We also, every March, we do the Craft Brew Hullabaloo, which is a fundraiser for local youth programs. We've had up to 30 breweries there from all across the state. That is in March. We also do a Treasure Coast Wine and Ale Trail event down at Summer Crush Winery in Fort Pierce, Florida. And that is all the members on our ale trail that we talked about earlier, that we're trying to promote everybody to come out, visit all of the locations that produce their own product. So those are kind of the big things coming on the horizon. We also have the Florida Brewers Guild annual conference is coming up in Orlando next week, actually. And we'll have, dozens of guest speakers, workshops, tasting workshops for off flavors, things like that. Lots of vendors come down. So for Florida, that's our big once a year conference that we do. That's coming up next week.
A lot going on there.
Yeah.
So Pete, you mentioned wineries down there. Do grapes grow in Florida?
Just the muscadine grapes grow down here, which are very small and very sweet. So most of the wineries that I know of, they actually will import additional puree from outside of the state and blend that with their locally grown muscadine grapes.
Now, you were talking about the things that are new. You were telling us beforehand that you've got a new like core beer, Citrus Surfer. Is that correct?
Surfer.
A new
That
hazy IPA. I think that
Yes.
we ought to talk a little bit about that, since that's
Okay.
a new core thing. Tell us about that. How did that come to be?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, our best-selling beer is 32958. Everybody calls it zip code. Only being a 5-barrel brew house and having several distributors that we send our beer out, we're really having trouble keeping up with brewing that beer. And we've investigated having it contract brewed, but it's like farming out your baby for the first time to a babysitter that you don't know. So I really tried to come up with another hazy IPA that's equally as good, but distinctly different. And so for the distribution side of things, now that we just launched this a few weeks ago, almost as many people now are ordering the Citrus Surfer as they were of the zip code. So now it takes some of the pressure off just that one brand.
So the name seems to imply it's heavy on the Citra then, as opposed to, I don't know what the hop profile difference is between the two IPAs.
It's definitely a Citra forward hazy, but I'm one of those people, whether I'm weird or whatever, call me old school, because I started brewing in California back in the 90s. I still like a little hop bite to all of my beers. Not necessarily intense, but there should still be something there. So I do early kettle additions on my hazy IPAs, as well as a ton of late edition Whirlpool, secondary, all that good stuff. And I feel like what I'm doing is more true to what I learned about the style when I went up to Vermont. And actually, that trip ended up being leading to us doing a collab with one of the breweries up in Vermont. They tried our hazy IPA and said, "Oh my God, you nailed it." So they invited us to do a beer together. So that was pretty cool.
What brewery was that, Pete?
That was Good Water Brewing in Burlington, Vermont.
Cool.
And so the Citrus Surfer is actually a little less bitter even than the zip code is. But so I just kind of changed the hop profile when we add the hops into that. But it's a super crushable, nice, light, hazy IPA that people don't even like beer or drinking, which always blows me away. They'll come in saying, I'm a wine drinker. I don't really drink beer. You slip them a little sample and all of a sudden they're drinking it. So it hits all the right notes, just enough bitterness, but not too bitter. A lot of aroma and flavor.
So it's a bit like me with the sea salt and vinegar chips. I'm like, I don't think I like these, and I just keep eating.
Just
them.
keep going.
Keep
Just
eating them.
keep on,
This
keep
is-
it on.
I think I dislike this. I think I don't like this beer. Should be the name of a beer.
I think I don't like this.
Yeah.
I don't like IPAs.
I'm not sure I like
1 out of 5.
Oh, I
Yeah.
don't like IPAs. That is just a hazy IPA. That would be fantastic.
That's it. Yeah. Just give it grief.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, another thing that I saw, and I think it was mentioned on your social media, that you were using Florida grown hops. And I am
Yes.
intrigued by this. I've been reading about stories about this for going back probably 2 or 3 years. Tell me about what hops you're using and how,
Okay.
yes, all that.
Well, the University of Florida has had an agricultural program trying to grow hops now for several years, like you said. And I have attended some of their workshops and gotten some samples from them. And then another program that came up closer to where we're located was with the USDA. And they had a test farm, and they were actually trying to see if this is a viable crop for Florida. We get a lot of sunshine. We've got a lot of ag, land out there. And so Cascade is by far the most successful. We've used Crystal, we've used Zeus, we've used Nugget. And so this scientist, his name is Bill, and he got a harvester as well a couple of years ago, which was nice because before that we were hand cutting them. But yeah, he's growing. I think I just got a week ago, I just got 30 pounds of wet hops. He literally picked them that day, and I put him in my tank in about 24, 48 hours.
Are we already in wet hop season, or is it just because of
Soon,
in Florida?
Soon.
Yeah,
It's
in
in
Florida it
Florida.
would be.
Yeah,
Florida,
up in the
you there
Northwest,
already?
they got
Okay.
another month. Yep.
So I was going to ask if these were hydroponically grown or indoor or something like that for you to have already gotten the wet hops. But you know
They're
what?
they're
If it's a
grown
climate, it
outdoors.
makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, and just like they do in South Africa, because we're at different latitudes, they turn lights on the hop vines in the middle of the night for about an hour, and it tricks them into this little growth spurt because we get an hour less of sunlight at these southern latitudes. So
Interesting.
they've
Okay.
found a way to kind of bump up and stimulate the growth a little bit with artificial lighting.
How
I
about that?
believe that I saw with the hydroponic ones, Pete, that they do a similar thing, and they get, or is it grain, or like they get 3 harvests a year
the hops.
because they're tricking the light cycle.
I think there was a place in, I want to say Alabama, that was doing it, and they were turning around 3 crops a year, basically because of the way they had the system dialed in. I think they may have stopped doing it, but Wild Leap, their beer we were drinking earlier, I believe did something with their hops earlier on. I think they're no longer doing that.
Yeah, I think it may have
Yeah.
been a one-time thing or something there.
Yes.
Pete Anderson, Pareidolia Brewing Company, Treasure Coast of Florida. We appreciate you joining us. If people want to find out more about what's going on at your brewery, what is the best way to do that?
They can visit our website, pareidoliabeer.com. They can Google Pareidolia Beer. As long as they spell it right, it should come up. They can also find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Thanks, Pete. We appreciate you hanging out with us here, sir.
Thank you guys so much for your support of craft beer and everything you're doing. It means a lot to us.
Absolutely. That about wraps it up, Brian, for this episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Come and join us next week as we talk. Brian, there is a new brewery in Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh,
The only one right now.
only one.
And we're going to talk to him. Fertile Ground Brewing Company. So make sure to tune in for that. For more craft beer info, follow us online. We are Beer Guys Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great week. And don't forget to drink local. Cheers.
Were you giving it the echo
Thank you.
effect over
I
there?
was a wah, 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 the whammy pedal there.
The
That was
whammy
it.
pedal.
I was doing it. Pete, give me just a second. I'm going to sign off here online. You hang with us just a second more. Facebook, Twitter. I was going to say Instagram. I get so used to saying that. But thanks for tuning into the live stream, folks. We will be back next week. If you're a live stream kind of person, this Friday, Brian,
Yes.
Better on Draft, another podcast beer radio
Correct.
show.
Yes.
We're going to hang with Better on Draft, 7 p.m. Friday, betterondraft.tv. and I believe Facebook live streaming.
I believe so. You know what? I should have checked in on that, but
General
yes.
chit chat, general jibber jabber with a focus on the beers of yesteryear.
The forgotten classics, I
The
think.
forgotten classics.
Yes.
So come hang with us there as well. We'll get some links up on our social media for that. But otherwise, y'all, have a good one. Cheers.